Education ist super, Konzerte sind auch wichtig, aber worum es bei Superbooth eigentlich geht, sind ja die vielen neuen kleinen Maschinchen und Produkte, die die Hersteller jedes Jahr vorbereiten und vorstellen. Und dass wir dieses Jahr da nicht ganz drauf verzichten müssen, haben einige unserer Hersteller ein bisschen Material vorbereitet und uns ein paar schöne Videos gesendet. Und die wollen wir uns jetzt mal angucken.
I had the chance to get my hands on the CL AM1 mixing desk for a couple of days. Besides their normal stereo mono audio channel, it features their very unique CV channel. You could see the CV channel as, first of all, as a very basic stereo channel. It has an input section. It has a very sophisticated, good sounding 3-band EQ consisting of a low pass, a high pass, and a fully parametric midband. But now you cannot only control the available parameters with their corresponding knob, but you could also use CV to control basically every parameter, with a few exceptions of course. For that you could either use internal CV sources that I'll show you in a second, or feed in some external CV sources from your modular system or whatever synthesizer you use. Now let me give a very brief overview over the different sections of the channel. All white-framed regions are CV sources. We have the fluctuation unit first, which is a random generator where you can set the speed of it. Secondly, we have the envelope follower with the controllable threshold, or called sensitivity, with the timing constants, and it will also put out a gate signal. Down below we have the very sophisticated but very effective 3-band EQ comprising a low pass filter, a high pass and a fully parametric midband. This is where things get really interesting, because you can control every parameter of the EQ via CV. Further, it has a dry and wet control over the low pass and the high pass filter, which it's not very usual to see that. So you could do parallel EQing, which is very interesting. You could even have CV control over the insert, which is phenomenal. Down below we have the stereo bass section, which goes from mono to stereo to difference. You can of course CV control that. We have 6 auxiliary sends, which again are fully CV controllable. We have a panic section, which is, as you would assume, fully CV controllable. We have the volume section down here. Instead of a sliding fader we have on the normal channels, we have a rotary knob. Also we have a busing system for both audio and CV signals. Down at the bottom we have a very simple, basic but yet effective envelope generator with controllable timing constants. You can trigger it manually by a little push button, or you could feed in an external gate to trigger it. On top of that we have the fixed voltage, which will simply deploy a adjustable fixed voltage, as the name implies. It will operate between -5 and +5 volts. And last but not least, we have the CV summing section, which will sum any 2 CV signals, be it internal or external. Further, it has 2 more CV sources, a red noise and a brown noise. So I'll just very quickly show you how the CV control works. On the right side we have the parameters. Next to it we have the CV source. You can set, this would be the fluctuation, this would be the gate, the sum, the fixed voltage. We have the 5 CV inputs on the back. We have the envelope generator. And next to the source we have the mod amount knob, which will control the modulation amount. It's a bipolar knob. You can go from positive to 0 to negative. this very simple bass line coming from my modular system from the Swayman BLD2. What I have done is using the fixed voltage CV signal and put it out of the channel strip, feed it into the modular system. I'm controlling the decay and the cutoff of the filter. So I have both parameters at the same knob now. If I turn it, it will turn both up the filter and the decay time. Now let me also use a reverb, which is on auxiliary send 6. Let me set it to fixed voltage, the V, and then turn up the mod amount to positive. So if I turn the fixed voltage up, it will actually turn this knob. That was a little bit distorted, so let me set the filter. Set the mod amount to negative, so what will happen if I turn up the fixed voltage? This knob will go down. That was maybe a little bit too much, so now it's a good time to use the dry-wet control, because it's a little bit too much filtering. Like that, so what I do now with only one knob, I'm controlling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different parameters on the modular and the channel strip itself. Turning this knob up is the same as I would do that. But as I don't have 4 different hands, it's very handy to use just one knob to turn both parameters on the modular system and to control the filter cutoff and the dry-wet, as well as the auxiliary send. Now I have a square wave patched into the channel, which is just a square wave obviously. I will turn down the filter and now set the fluctuation, the random generator, to control the cutoff. It goes all the way to audio rate. But let me set something more interesting. As the envelope generator is still patched into my modular, into the pitch, I can just trigger the pitch and you will hear it change. Let me add a little bit of reverb. So as I hit the button, also the auxiliary send will open up and send the signal into the reverb. Now that you have a first brief overview how this thing works, I will try a little jam to make some music with it, actually, because the previous examples were just to show you how this thing works. I have this very simple chord coming from Logic. It's just a continuously running chord. Nothing happens. Every sound shaping element that you will hear now is taking place inside the CV channel. I have the derp for dark time sending out 2 different CV sequences going into both channels, as well as a triggering the envelope. I will use the envelope to open up the volume control. Let me also engage the filter. I'm using the sequence from the dark time to open it up. Let me bring in the 808. I will use the same sequence, actually do the same thing, sequencing the low pass filter. Or maybe I will use not the sequence, but let's use the fluctuation to make it a little bit more random and interesting. Yeah, like that. Setting the speed. I'll bring some other elements. Using the AM1 for a week now showed me how sophisticated this desk was designed to be not only a very serious mixing tool, but a very serious instrument. It really invites itself to be played, to be creative with. You can transform something very boring into something totally different very quickly. It would require a lot of instruments and tools to do that without the AM1. There is so much love to detail on it. It would take hours to explain all the features, but it was built with so much love to detail. I was very surprised using it, and it will be hard to give it away again.
Hi, hier ist wieder Peter von Amazona.de und ab sofort präsentieren wir die virtuelle Superbooth mit wirklich durchgehend Neuigkeiten aus allen Bereichen, ob das Drumcomputer, Eurorack, Synthesizer. Ihr müsst einfach nur auf unsere Seite schauen und dort werdet ihr wirklich richtig zugeballert mit allen News, die es ab sofort zur Superbooth gibt. Aber ich habe noch was für euch, nämlich die angekündigte Verlosung. Was verlosen wir denn zur Superbooth? Zum ersten wäre da dieser hammermäßige Gitarrenamp. Diesen Amp ab sofort von Novation gibt es zu gewinnen, aber das ist nicht alles. Denn zu dem Amp gibt es natürlich noch die passende E-Gitarre dazu. Mit dieser E-Gitarre und diesem Amp seid ihr eigentlich schon live ziemlich gut aufgestellt. Damit aber nicht genug, braucht ihr auch was für die Tastendrückerfraktion. Da haben wir diese wunderbare Heimorgel, mit der ihr wirklich sensationell mit diesen beiden Tools alles habt, um live richtig abgehen zu können. Alle 3 Tools gibt es von Novation ab sofort für wenige Tage zur virtuellen Superbooth zu gewinnen bei uns online. Viel Spaß!
Hello, I'm Christophe Dicken from Hacken Audio and La Voix du Luthier, and I'm here at Superbooth 2020 Home Edition with my booth here, so 2 pyramids, one on and one continuum. Thanks very much to Superbooth organization and to Sonic State for setting up this organization to have everybody online. So this is our booth where we have 2 pyramids connected together. The way they will play in sync, and we'll have also one on. So what I'm going to talk about today is mainly the La Voix du Luthier configuration. Ed Egan will do also a video for the continuum. Everything is connected. So when I play the continuum, it plays the 3 devices all together. Just to remind you what this is about, La Voix du Luthier is building resonators. They are not speakers, also they can be compared to speakers. There is no speaker inside. It's only soundboard, exactly as you have on a piano or on a guitar, and the vibration of the sound is directly transmitted to the wood, to the soundboard, thanks to transducers. So what you're hearing when you listen to them is only the sound of the wood, exactly as you have when you listen to a guitar or a piano. So they give your sound a very acoustic feeling. Also, they spread the sound in a very different way than a usual speaker will do. It is mainly 3-dimensional sound spread, exactly as a violin. A comparison I often do is with the violin that you will put in the center of a stage on a big venue. You can hear it all over the venue. Even if it's not that loud, you can hear it all over a classical venue. And if you do the same thing with a speaker, you will only hear the speaker in front of the speaker, because the speaker is monodirectional. These are behaving exactly as a violin. This spreads the sound all over the venue. Moreover, they have their own sounds. They are built with a string instrument maker who is used to work on that tone wood on a very specific way, and so we have tuned that wood, so that these resonators, so they have their specific behavior, specific character. So obviously this is very difficult to listen to the real sound of such devices from a video. The video will compress, you will hear it through speakers, so obviously you will not get the real sound of these kind of speakers. Furthermore, we are in a very weird situation where we have started the production, so we have production devices, but I lent all my own production device to France just before the confinement, so I don't have any production device here. So what we have decided to do is to ask some of our users to do some video for us. So I will introduce videos from users and explain how they are using their ONS. That's mainly ONS for now that we have delivered. And so, yes, I will obviously also do some small demo. One thing also I wanted to do is try to show you the specific flavor of the sound of the pyramid specifically. We can do it also with the OND, but I will take a microphone and move it in a very close range around the pyramid. So you will hear different characters of sounds depending on the position you have. That also gives you an idea of how you can use a pyramid by miking it. Usually you can have 2 mics, one on the front, one on the back. So I will make a small demonstration also of the kind of sounds you can get from a pyramid. This first example, audio example, is from Jean-Baptiste Favori. He's a French composer, a music concrète composer. He's doing pretty amazing things. Check the link here to listen to what he's doing, especially the Le Passager album, which is really great. And here he's using an AKS SMT, which is an old and pretty rare instrument, and that goes very well through the sound. second demonstration is from my dear friend François Astier. You may also know him as Nani Sound. Here he's using a word instrument from Massimo Ola and the modular synths Continuum Mini and the round piano RD700. Only the piano is going a bit through line out for the recording, but also through the on. Everything else is only from the on. You can see the recording mic here. Antonio is a very good friend from Portugal. He sent me a set of very nice video featuring small but powerful devices played through the on. The tilt angle of the on here is mainly for aesthetical purpose. You see the reflection on the table. It's very interesting to see how these small devices get an enhanced sound when played through the on. That's also an interesting way of using the on. The first video is with an axolotl. Here it's with a faint mono-Norns clone. And this last video is with the Make Noise Holocaust, which is a special device Antonio bought in Asheville during the very first Continucon, which is a gathering of Haken Continuum users. So let's come back to the booth and let's rock a bit. You probably know that Haken Audio is working together with Expressive on the brand new Osmos. So the second demonstration I'm going to do is not with an Osmos, but with one of the sound I'm working on for the Osmos. I'm working on a set of DX FM style sounds. So this is one of them. Of course, they are also perfectly working with the Continuum, with a continuous pitch that you will not have on the Osmos. That's let's see what it's going to be like. One of the good things being online like this is that you can do some kind of magic like this. So this is a totally different setup where the Hound is standalone and powering that Continuum Mini, so you see it's not here anymore. The good thing with the Hound is that it is battery powered, so fully standalone, and it also can power that Continuum Mini from that output power, USB power. The audio input, so the MIDI is coming here, so audio out here of the MIDI, audio in here. Two volume knobs for the two soundboards, one of the front, one of the back, and also Bluetooth input if you want to add, for example, some backtracks. So I'm standalone here, I can go wherever I want in the middle of the forest and play, and that's one of the fun parts with the Hound. And depending on the battery, you can last from 8 hours to nearly more than 2 days. And depending also on the power, the level of playing you're going to have. So let's play a little bit. So as promised, this last In this demonstration, I wanted to show you some pictures and video from our workshop in Vendée, which is west of France, near the coast. So you can see here Marc, our stringed instrument maker, building things. We have built our own tools to speed up the process, but everything is still handmade, as you can see. And it's a long process to build an own. It's a lot of love to be put inside before getting to that point. Here you also can see his daughter, who is helping from time to time. So production is not stopped due to the outbreak, but still going on. So thank you very much for being with us for this short presentation of La Voix de Luthier. I hope you're all safe, stay home for these days, and so if you want some more information, please be back to me. You can find my mail here on the video, or come to our website, so La Voix de Luthier or Hacken Audio. So thank you very much. Have a very nice day. Bye bye.
Hello, I'm Matthew. Welcome to this ALM news special for Superbooth Lockdown 2020. So we recently made a new firmware release for the Squid Sample. The Squid Sample is our 8-channel audio and CV Eurorack sampler. We've been regularly releasing firmware updates for it now since its release. I'm really happy with it. I really enjoy it. It comes with an amazing set of samples as well, so you can just use it as just a playback. Samples really simply triggering, you know, like the drum sounds and whatnot, but you can also use it as quite a kind of sophisticated patchable sound mangler now. And if you check our YouTube channel, there's a couple of deep dive videos there which really kind of explore using the Squid beyond basic sampling and sample playback. This new firmware version 1.25 adds a number of new features to the Squid. The first of which is an auto chop or splice feature, which automatically chops up samples based on transients into cue sets. It also adds 2 new recording modes, allowing you to overdub samples and also extend existing samples. And finally, it has what we're calling E-trigs, which basically allow samples to emit triggers when they've finished playing back. The triggers can come out as actual trigger pulses from the trigger output, but kind of more interestingly in a way is they can trigger other channels, kind of working virtually, which can actually mean for quite a lot of fun. As well as that, there's various kind of bug fixes, little UI tweaks and whatnot. Also, I'm pleased to announce a firmware update for Pamela's new workout. Our very popular 8-output master clock and modulator. Pam was thought to be completely full firmware wise, and that's why there hasn't been any updates for a while. Like it does way more than I kind of ever expected it would, but unfortunately we just ran out of space. Some updates to some of the tools we use to build the software on Pam got a little bit more efficient and gave us a tiny bit more space, which has been used to fix some kind of minor long-standing bugs in Pam. But maybe more excitingly, we've managed to add a couple of new features. The first of which is a basic quantizer on every output, which combined with the random waveforms and, well, any of the waveforms, makes Pam suddenly very musical. The other addition is just some improved CV control over the bank loading, which was asked for a lot. That's currently a beta, but probably by the time you're seeing this, that firmware will have had a proper release. Okay, next up is a brand new module, the Bossbo 2. This is a reworking of the original Bossbo Time module. It's a switch module which allows you to route signals between a single input and output to a number of inputs and outputs. You know, so you can have an input coming into any one of them and out of there, but it's bi-directional, so you can have a signal coming here and then out of any one of these. And then there's 3 modes as to how the route is selected. The first address mode is just like the original Bossbo tie, where an incoming voltage, CV, whatever, sets this route depending on the level, and you can offset and attenuate it. The next mode is a strobe mode, which again allows you to set the route via a voltage, but the actual route is only updated on presence of a trigger. The final mode, stepped, it works like basically like a, rather than being voltage addressed, it works like a step switch, which people are most kind of familiar with. It's in a lot of the confusion with the original Bossbo tie was that it didn't work in this way, but this new version works like that, in that you give it a clock and it will step through the outputs or inputs, and the direction as to how it steps is controlled by the voltage, and you can also reset it and whatnot, just like a classic sequential switch. Okay, that should be shipping around about now, hopefully, and the retail price should be around about £160. Finally, ALM Busy Circuits is pleased to announce the ALM System Coupe, our first complete modular system. It's a unique, modern approach to audio production, featuring pattern creation, sequencing, modulation, sampling, numerous sound sources and DAW integration. It combines analog and digital technologies into a unique, fully patchable, fun, flexible and creative environment. The coupe consists of a powered case populated with a curated set of ALM modules, classics, staples and new exclusive releases. All the modules are special editions with grey panels, white screens, magenta and blue knobs and a custom compact 84 HP case. It includes the MIDI, PAM, the Quade Megaslope, the Squid Sample, the MCO, the Tangle Quartet and the HPO. There are also 3 new modules, a basic mult, the Milton, a general utility module, and the MCF, a multi-mode filter. Patch cables are also included. Everything you need to get going. With a bit of luck, the coupe is shipping from dealers right now. Retail should be around about £1,800. Okay, thanks for watching. See you again next year, maybe in person. Stay safe and healthy.
Deutsch-amerikanische Freundschaft wird hier hochgehalten und jetzt schauen wir mal, ob da auch noch gearbeitet wird. Schon mal keiner da. So. Hallo? Oh. Ja, Video. Bitte.
Hi everybody in virtual Superbooth land. I'm Mark Verbos from Verbos Electronics, and I would like to show you the 3 new modules that we first debuted at the Winter NAMM show in California in January. Those 3 modules are the Amp and Tone, which is a riff on the amplitude and tone controller that we previously had. It maintains the same functionality but has been reduced to 10 HP, a smaller size, and has had the electronics tweaked a little bit to sort of refine the functionality. If you don't know what it is, it's an input gain section that's able to distort the signal if you choose, a 2-pole low-pass filter, sound key type with pretty aggressive resonance, if you please, and a discrete VCA with the ability to control it up and down with exponential or linear shapes. All the functionality is still intact, but reduced in size a little bit. The second is the foundation oscillator, which is based on the same oscillator core that's in our complex oscillator and harmonic oscillator. In addition to having the triangle and square waves coming out of the core, it also has a brand new wave shaper that puts out 3 signals simultaneously, which are able to go from a sine wave to either a saw, a square, or a spike wave, which is a bit of a reference to the Buchla music easel, and then also has a richness control, which is a brand new wave shaper that effectively multiplies the core frequency by up to 8 times continuously. So when the control is all the way down, we're getting the core frequency, and when all the way up, we're getting 8 times, but smoothly fading up and introducing those multiplications. This sounds a bit like 2 oscillators in hard sync, but sidesteps some of the trouble of trying to have 2 oscillators perfectly track in order to do that. So it's all packaged in this one small module. And the third one is the noise and filter, which is a pink noise generator followed by a 4-band fixed filter with the frequency centers on the Bark scale, effectively breaking up the 12 bands from a Bark filter into 4 sets of 3, with the curves just as steep and in the same places that those breakpoints would be. So this is nice for getting some different flavors of noise out of the internal noise generator, or for breaking up whatever sounds into narrower bands for processing or for feedback, and we'll get to that and show some interesting things to do with it. So let's go and see some demonstrations.
Hi, I'm Constantine.
And I am Heinbach. Together we're Single Mode Synthesis, and we'll be doing a special reserved stream during the time that Superbooth would have been. It will be like walking from booth to booth, with manufacturers jumping in and out, and random encounters with some of your favorite people in synthesis.
It'll be like experiencing the organized chaos that is Superbooth in the comfort of your pajamas.
And afterwards, we'll have a whiskey with a bunch of friends. And hopefully you.
In this patch, you can see how the foundation oscillator can be used as the center of a patch, where the wave shaper introduces all the spectral modulation that we would traditionally expect from a filter, but all internally. Position on the mini horse is used to control the timbre, and the richness is manipulated from the front panel control. The new amp and tone has all of the features of the original amplitude and tone controller, but in a smaller, more streamlined package. you have the ability to control the VCA with a response that's either linear or exponential. And in this case, the exponential CV, which is normal to the filter cutoff, shows the low-pass gate-like tone, but what might not be immediately apparent is the power of using both the exponential and the linear inputs at the same time. In this case, to make an accent, that coupled with the high input gain and resonance allows a multitude of distortion techniques. The noise and filter gives you a pink noise generator, as well as a 4-band fixed filter bank that can easily give you low, low-mid, high-mid, and high noise, or any external signal can be patched through the fixed filter bank. But the real power is in collaboration with other modules. In this case, an output from the multi-delay is fed back into itself through the noise and filter. Here we have a patch involving all 3 of the new modules, patched with control from a mini horse, and then everything culminating in a multi-delay to create atmospheric effects.
Hi, I'm Toby from TurboTech. Welcome to Virtual Superbooth. And in this demonstration I would like to show you our microtune module and the now available expanders. And there are a lot of features. I cannot show all of them. I will only show the most important ones. So if you're interested, go on our website and check it out. So what is microtune? Microtune is a quantizer. It's a MIDI to CV gate interface. It's also a CV to MIDI interface. It has a sophisticated MIDI router, completely with USB MIDI, DIN MIDI, and the MIDI generated from the module itself, where you can merge and distribute MIDI streams. Something that's not the scope of this presentation today. It's completely microtonal. You can put scales on the SD card. There's a scale and tuning editor inside. It has a lot of features that deal with tuning and microtonality in general. You can do VCO calibration, something that's also very interesting for people not interested in microtonal work. If you have a VCO that's not perfectly in tune over a wide range of octaves, you can use microtune to bring it in tune. It even has an automatic tuning function, which means that it will measure the frequency of a VCO and continuously adjust the frequency. It can also process and generate clocks, so MIDI clock, or it has a built-in clock generator. And with the expanders, it can do all of that on up to 8 channels. So each channel, this is one channel, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and with another added expander you would have 8. Each channel has a CV input, a gate input, a CV output and a gate output. And all of these inputs and outputs can have various functions assigned to. So let's get started. A quick word about the setup. It's a very basic Eurex setup. You have a couple of VCOs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 VCOs here. A filter, here 2 other filters, a VCA, a couple of envelopes here, a sequencer and a mixer. This is the Sumtable, another product by us, and we will use it for basic mixing and signal distribution. For our patch today, we first would like to create a monophonic synthesizer using the sequencer as control. We connect the CV output of our sequencer to CV input of the microtune. We use channel 1 and connect the CV output to the CV input of our VCO. Then we connect the output of the VCO to our mixer, and right away we can hear the oscillator, and if I change the CV input we can hear the quantizer working. This is of course far from being a complete synthesizer voice, and I would like to insert a filter into the audio path. And using this filter here, connect its output to the mixer, and we can hear the filter working. Now I would like to control the filter via an envelope and trigger the envelope from microtune. I connected the gate output of channel 1 to the gate input of the envelope and the output of the envelope to the filter CV control. But where does the gate come from? Microtune has an automatic gate generation function. We go into config, channels, channel 1, simple config, and we set the gate to be auto trigger. Now every time the input voltage changes, Microtune will generate a trigger which triggers the envelope. How could we clock the sequencer? Fortunately, Microtune has a built-in clock generator. Let's use channel 2 gate output as the clock output. We go into config, channels, select channel 2, simple config, and choose the gate output to output clock and the divider to 16th. If we now connect the gate output to the clock input of the sequencer and go to Tool, Clock Generator and start the clock. You can also set the BPM here, of course. Let's stop the clock for a moment and first make sure that our VCO is actually in tune. We can use Microtune's tuner for that. And there's not only one tuner, but one for each channel, so up to 8 tuners. Just connect the spare output of a VCO to the gate input, and you can read the pitch and adjust it to 0. Also use the gate input for triggered or gated quantizing. Let's start the clock again. We go into config, channels, and select the gate input to triggered quantizing. And now, as you can hear, the quantizer is only quantizing whenever I set a step here on a sequencer. Now I would like to expand my patch and also use MIDI. And the way I would like to set it up is to use Microtune's plug-in detection. If the CV input is plugged in, I want to use the sequencer as before. But if I unplug it, I now want to be able to control the VCO via MIDI. Just go into Configuration, Channels, and go into Advanced Config, Gate in plugged in, which means only the gate is plugged in, but the CV is unplugged. And here define gate out to be not auto trigger, but MIDI gate. And we go into MIDI, input config, and set the MIDI channel of Microtune channel 1 to 1. Because that's what my keyboard is sending. Now if I unplug the CV input, I can just play via MIDI. And if I plug it in again, the sequencer is working again with auto trigger. Now I would like to add a paraphonic 3-voice synthesizer to my patch. I use Microtune channels 4, 5 and 6 for that, and I just connect the CV outputs to the CV inputs of the VCOs, and I mix the CVOs into a sum tuple. And from the sum tuple I go into a filter, and the filter is controlled with an envelope, which is triggered by Microtune channel 4. Now the only thing I have to do is go into the MIDI configuration and set the MIDI channels of Microtune channels 4, 5 and 6 to 1, which is my keyboard. Microtune will now automatically group these channels into a polyphonic synthesizer group, and we can actually even define the voice assigning modes. So when we use voice assigning mode cycle, it will just cycle through the voices 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6 whenever I press a key. But for paraphonic synthesizers it's better to use the stacking mode, which will always trigger the first voice. I just would like to give you a quick overview of what kind of functions you can assign to the inputs and outputs. So let's start with CV out. It can output pitch data, velocity from MIDI from any channel, off velocity, aftertouch, channel pressure, or you can send controller values to control the CV out. Then the gate out. You can output MIDI gate, MIDI clock with an adjustable divider, MIDI start stop, clock from the internal clock generator, again with divider, start stop from the internal clock generator, gate pass. Gate pass passes the incoming gate to the output, and you can actually invert it or convert it to switch trigger, an auto trigger with adjustable length. Then the CV in can be used for pitch mapping, or transpose another channel, or shift the tuning and scale of another channel. It can control glide speed. And then finally the gate in can be used for gated quantizing, triggered quantizing, as a switch for glide, random trigger, and of course frequency detection. Microtune also has a very sophisticated MIDI router and merger. In this example I'm receiving MIDI note data from USB and sending it out to my drum machine over DIN MIDI. I'm also sending the MIDI note data from USB to the module itself and sending it out to DIN MIDI to my drum machine. There's also a separate page for clock routing, and as you can see, I'm receiving MIDI clock data from USB and sending it out to my drum machine and sending it to the module itself, which will clock the sequencer. And this is pretty much the whole patch right there. Off camera, I added some velocity control and programmed a nice stepping filter using the CV output from channel 2, and I'm now controlling both the polyphonic and the monophonic synths via USB MIDI from my laptop. This is achieved using the built-in MIDI router and merger. The analog sequencer is clocked via MIDI and can take over the monophonic synth whenever I plug it in. Microtune also routes MIDI clock and note data to a modified Rhythm Ace FR3 drum machine. You will now hear performance using this very patch. Enjoy!
Hi, I'm Henrik from Instruments for Things, and this is our Superbooth Home Edition. And today we will show you our UREC module 2.4 Sync, which is a wireless CV interface with 16 different outputs, and or more specifically multimode outputs. And it has many different features and supports many common protocols, so you can transmit any data wirelessly to your rack and convert it to voltages, obviously. And yeah, so let's start with our first main feature, which is motion sensor control. So we have these sensors here, and you can connect up to 7 sensors to a single 2.4 sync module. And each sensor has 3 different tilt angles, which is the roll, the pitch, and the compass or yaw axis. And you have 3 different acceleration axes. So you can accelerate in any of these direction, and then you get the control voltage out. And so the mapping can be done in a built-in web app in the modules. So you just connect to the Wi-Fi with any web browser or with any device, and then you access the web app with any web browser where you can map any sensor value, for example the yaw axis, to a specific output, change the output mode, the bipolar, unipolar or gate trigger mode, and you can also scale the sensitivity. And of course you can not only make pure CV signals, you can also use built-in LFOs, which can be frequency modulated with the sensor values. So yeah, there are many kinds of control signals which can be generated with 2.4 sync. Okay, so let's start with the first sensor here. Here's a very simple sequence. And what we do is we have connected the roll axis to the filter cutoff, and the yaw axis to the resonance of the filter, and yeah, the roll and the yaw axis of this sensor here. And now, if I'm changing the roll axis, the frequency, cutoff frequency goes up. Here goes down, here goes up, and it's very precise. So if I don't move, you don't hear any changes. Just slightly. The latency is also very low. Yeah, and with the yaw axis I'm changing the resonance now. So here's basically the beginning of the 360 degree right now again. Yeah. Yeah, so you can control many parameters just with a single sensor. So you have much more dimensions of freedom to control your rack, which is very interesting for, of course, dance performances, for example, but also for sound design for movies. If you look at the movie and you use several sensors to modulate any parameters. Yeah, so it's a very new kind of workflow which can be done with 2.4 sync. So now let's use the other sensor which I have on the arm. And with this sensor we are triggering some percussion sounds, and we are changing the pitch with the yaw axis again. So if I'm triggering the percussion based on acceleration. So here's the percussion sound. And now if I'm turning around, I'm changing the pitch. Yeah. Okay, now we're coming to our next feature, which is Ableton Link, which is a new feature of our new firmware. And it's used for wireless clock synchronization via Wi-Fi. And with our module, it's a really, really powerful new feature. You can set a clock divider for each output with any real number. And you can also sync the internal LFOs to Ableton Link with any period. So yeah, you can really CV any sequencer, for example. You can randomize any parameters on specific beats. So it's really powerful. And now let's see what we have here. It's just a simple patch. So we have a master clock coming from here, which has a clock divider 4, which means on every quarter beat we get a trigger, and it goes into this Euclidean sequencer here. And yeah, here comes the trigger out to our percussion module. So if I'm changing this parameter here, we get different rhythms. And now we want to have the rhythms always correctly aligned. So what we are doing now is here's an output with a clock divider of 0.25, which means on every 4 beats we get a clock, and with this clock we reset the sequencer. So now it's always aligned correctly in the beat. And now let's use a random LFO, which is here connected also with on every 4 beats, so also with a clock divider of 0.25. And we use this random LFO to change the pattern of the rhythm. So let's connect the attenuated random LFO. So now on every 4 beats the rhythm changes. So we have a changing rhythm based on some random LFO, and now we also have a random 2 random LFOs, but with a clock divider of 4. So on every quarter note the random value changes. So let's use these random LFOs to modulate some parameters of the percussion module here, and we are using the modulation input, which is changing the sample, or rather the preset in the Plonk module. So on every quarter note the sound changes. The sound is always changing. And now let's also modulate the pitch voice sound also on every quarter note with a random LFO. And you can hear you already get really interesting rhythms already with and interesting sounds. So if you imagine, you can use any LFO synced to any parameter, and everything synced also via to other devices. Alright, and now we come to our last feature, Open Sound Control, or rather OSC, which can be used or which is supported by many mobile applications, digital workstations, and you can basically transmit any control or any automations from Ableton, or also some MIDI data from Ableton, so you can hook up wirelessly with your laptop any controller and send it wirelessly to your rack. So we have prepared a very simple sequence here, as you can see, and I'm turning up the volume. Oops, wrong one. So as you can see, the notes are directly transmitted here. We have a gate, we have a pitch, and a velocity. And now, for example, I can change transpose the whole pattern. Yeah, so you can use Ableton as your sequencer for your rack, and some other good applications are Lemur, where you can build your own interfaces with XY pads and control any parameters, or Holiness to get some environmental information like your heartbeat or the weather to control your rack. Okay, that's Open Sound Control. And maybe another small note, you can also use Bluetooth LE MIDI controllers, which are basically very similar to this OSC Max for Live device here. And yeah, it supports aftertouch and also velocity and pitch bend. So if you have any wireless MIDI controllers, you can also hook it up with our sensors to your rack, with our module to your rack. Okay, thank you very much for your patience. We hope we give you a glimpse of the many possibilities and use cases our module provides. Of course, you can mix up all these features which we just presented, so you can use sensors and Link and OSC and Bluetooth LE MIDI simultaneously. And yeah, the module is already available for shipping. You can find it in our online shop and some retailers already. You also find some detailed tutorial videos on our website where you get to know where we show the web app, how you map sensors and so forth. Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hello, we are Fine Gear and we are very happy to see you at the 2020 Home Edition of the Superbooth. We'd like to show you our new analog multi-effect, the Dust Collector. It's the first of the Archive Effect series and it has 2 LFOs, 2 tape saturations, a spring reverb, a delay, and a phaser. Each of these effects was designed with versatility in mind, and we think their combination is greater than the sum of the parts. Now, here are a few situations in which the dust collector can be used. Take a look and enjoy. This is it for now. We'll finish these beers and get back to preparing the dust collector for shipping in July. More information is available on our website and we are taking pre-orders in our online shop. Thanks for watching and stay safe. Prost!
Making the ride on the boat in the morning to the Superbooth was always big fun, and we had a lot of meetings and whatever, and so here's the next piece. Yeah.
Hi there, Ed Egan from Hawken Audio, reporting to you from beautiful Ottawa, Canada. And I'm here to show you sort of what's this status for Hawken Audio and where our products are. In January of this year at NAMM, we announced the Slim Continuum, which is the new Continuum designed by us. The Slim Continuum is available in two sizes. There is a 46-note version that I have here, and there's also a 70-note version, which is a larger version of the Slim. Both have the same control area, and both have the same DSP sound engine in them, which is a triple DSP configuration, which used to be just an option on our older half and full sizes, but now it's built in and standard on the Slim Continuums. The Slim Continuum has headphone output, dedicated left and right audio outputs, digital I/O in the form of SPDIF, a serial connection, which we use for communicating with the CVC, our control voltage converter, MIDI over USB, and MIDI I/O through TRS MIDI jacks. As well, it has two pedal inputs and a power supply input. We're able to make the slim as it is, it's only 1.2 inches thin, by having an external power supply. So that's the Slim. The performance of the Slims are the same performance as you get out of our half-size and full-size continuums. What you do get that's different is the form factor of the smaller package, plus the dedicated controls, which give you things like octave shifting, be able to change presets, be able to store your own configurations of presets into the user preset slots for the sounds, and also the ability to menu dive and to control different parameters in real time through the control up here in these buttons. So that's the Slim, has I2C, which is our communication protocol through that dedicated port to talk to the Continuum control voltage converters. And we've redesigned the control voltage converter. It's now available. It's in a different form factor. We have it in 2 different colors. We have a sand colored, and then we also have our standard black version there. Same casing. The performance of this new CVC is the same as our older CVC, but it's in a different form factor, a much smaller box, and it also has a redesigned PCB, but it's the same performance that we were getting in the old one. But through those redesigns, we've consequently been able to lower the price. So we're excited. The CVC is a fantastic thing for controlling modular synths because it integrates directly into the software for our sound engine. So you can get very fancy control of all dimensions of a playing surface, and including LFOs built into the EGA matrix and pedal input, and have all those mathematical relationships of all those input things come out of one particular output. So it makes this CVC very, very flexible and nicely integrated within the continuum itself. The CVCs are compatible because they're I2C. We also have an I2C output on our Continuum Mini, and so the CVCs are completely compatible with the Continuum, with the Continuum Mini, and also will be compatible with Expressive E's Osmos keyboard. So and that's because we have the sound engine, the EGA Matrix sound technology that's inside our products here, the Continuum and the Continuum Mini, will be available in the Expressive E Osmos. And also very exciting is that any presets that is designed for the Continuum is compatible with the Continuum Mini and is compatible with the Osmos. So you would design them differently because, you know, the Osmos and the Continuum Mini are different products. These are more similar than the way the Osmos is, but it just means you can translate, tweak them, and have them work well on any of those instruments. So one thing that's interesting, you know, I find interesting about the Continuum, I'm really proud of this instrument. And people that play the Continuum, they can find their own style, which is very, very interesting because it is a very expressive instrument, but there's many different ways to play the Continuum. And what's surprised me is in the development of this thing is musicians have sort of found their own voice with the instrument. So I wanted to show a few videos that demonstrate that. This first one is from Rob Schwimmer. Rob Schwimmer is a Continuum player, and he has been delving into a lot with the tuning grid that we have on the Continuum. Now, the Continuum playing surface, it's nominally, like in this 46, it's set up so there's about 4 octaves of range here. But that's just, you can configure that any way you want. You could, with our tuning grid and pitch grid, you could set it up so this entire area was 1 octave, or this entire area was 8 octaves, or, you know, or any sort of relationship where it was like a semitone here and 7 octaves over in this range. And also with that pitch grid, there's a tuning grid. So within that grid, you can decide if it's going to round to particular notes. So in a normal configuration, it's rounding to semitones, but there would be nothing stopping You're setting up a thing where it's rounding to quarter tones, or it's rounding to any of the thousands of scala tunings that are available. We have a pitch table editor integrated with our editing software for the Ega Matrix that allows you to set this up and store them inside the continuum. So Rob explores that by having two different pitch tables, sort of the normal equal tempered range or size of octaves, and then one that's been expanded where it's double that range and pitch. And so he uses two pedals to control this. One pedal controls the relationship between one pitch table and the other pedal controls how much of the rounding is being applied. So if you watch this performance from Rob, you can see sort of the more experimental things that he does. This next video is one from Christophe Duquesne, and he designed a preset that allows him to treat the continuum kind of like a guitar, where you have an area that you can strum notes. He plays that with one hand, and with the other hand he plays pitches on the surface. And so this gives him the same kind of relationship that a guitar player would have, where you're getting those note actions with one hand and pitch actions with the other. So it's very interesting, and in this preset I believe he's using some waveguide technology built into the Ega Matrix to make this guitar timbre. This next video is one that I've done where I've used a section of the playing surface to act as kind of like a bow to actuate the volume and timbre of the sound, and the rest of the playing surface is the pitch. Now this is similar to the concept of having a bow, and like on a violin, your fingers are playing certain notes and your bow is making volume changes. But it's actually deeper than that, much as that relationship is deeper, where you have timbre changes that can happen where you play and how hard you play onto that bow surface area. And much like, you can make the sound brighter if you bow closer to the bridge, or more mellow if you bow into the center. And the harmonic relationship can change depending on how you interact between the bow and the finger. And so that's been replicated in this preset that I designed, and I'm using it to play a preset which I've called Stretch String. This last video that I did, I wanted to experiment a bit with making a cross relationship of control. So this involves a Continuum Mini and also a CVC and also the Slim. And then I've connected this sort of up to a Moog Voyager. And the way it's being connected, the Slim is really not connected. It's sort of in parallel, but the Continuum Mini audio output is being fed into the external audio in of the Voyager. And the CVC is connected to the Mini, and the control voltages that are being generated from interaction with the playing surface are influencing the sound of the Voyager synth, which is also running. Oh, here's my cat. Come on, Kobe. And so that relationship, it's very interesting because you can also interact with the keyboard of the Voyager and control pitches that are coming from it. And as well, I play with the mixer of the Voyager to control the relationship between the Mini and the oscillators that are inside the Voyager, and make use of the XY pad. So it ends up being this very, very nice organic thing, and I throw in some color and textures from the Slim. So I hope you enjoy that. Well, I hope you enjoyed those videos. If you want more information, visit our website at hawkenaudio.com. We have a web store there, so our products are available for direct purchase. We also are able to sell them through our retailers in the EU, so check those guys out. They're really good people. And that's the end of this, and stay safe. Thanks.
Rauscht. Ja.
Hello everybody, this is Audio Werkstatt at home office for Superbooth 20 Home Edition. Nothing new this year from Audio Werkstatt, but all products are still available. Sorry that we can't have a little talk at the booth in person, but if you have any questions, please write a mail. Enjoy Superbooth 20 Home Edition, stay safe and sound, and see you on Superbooth 21.
Welcome to the Salisbury booth at the Superbooth 2020 Home Edition. Here's our big product launch. So as you can see, it's still not ready yet. There's been a lot of progress this year though. A lot of parts have been manufactured, which include circuit boards, lots of plastic parts, more circuit boards, more plastic parts, but there's still a few bits left to manufacture, and when Superbooth was cancelled, I decided to take my foot off the gas a little bit. However, with some computer magic, I can show you the final design of the AT Megatron 2, the AT Multitron, and of course the Eurorack modules. I can also use my final prototype circuit boards to demo some of the sounds it can make in a slightly less noisy environment than at the live show. So let's do that. Okay, so this is my prototyping synthesizer here. And for those of you who don't know about the ATX system, it's an ecosystem of synthesizers and effects cards, up to 8 synthesizers and up to 8 effects cards. The AT Multitron has all 8 voice cards. The effects cards are the analog filters, the analog VCAs, and a programmable effects chip, and the keyboard and joystick input module as well. So first up is this piano patch. That's firmware for the ATX is new, the piano. It's a 13 kilobyte piano using some clever compression algorithms. So that's the 13 kilobyte piano, which will be one of the firmwares that launches with the synth. And then that can go through the analog filters. It's a multi-mode filter, 8 different modes. There's the resonance if you want it. Now if I switch to the Megatron layer, so you can hear a little bit of the effects chip that has been set to a reverb patch. The Megatron has 4 banks of 16 waveforms. I've now added a wave warp, which wasn't on the original. Yeah, let's move on to another sound. Okay, next patch. Pause that a second. So on card 1 we've got the drums. And on card 2 we've got the bass. It's got an arpeggiator on it. It's all synced together using the clock that runs throughout the system. That's on an AT Mega. And then we've got 2 layered AT Megas on 456 doing one of the sounds and 678 doing the other. So that's 456 using the bandpass filter. 6, 7 and 8, they're doing the grit. That's the Atmega digital filter there. And then if we pop back to the drums, and I pick the drum card on number 1, which is there. Obviously that can be filtered as well if you want. Do fills and you can put LFOs on that. The sequencing can be done here. Just simple 1 bar step sequencer with a little repeater effect, pitch, sample length, simple little sequencer there. So that's that sound. And last up, a quick little patch of all 8 voices working as one in unison. This is using the tune spreader, which puts offsets on each voice. Allows for nice detuned sounds. Got a bit of filter, analog filter. You've got a lot of the digital filter. There's the warper you can add. So a lot of possibilities. And finally, a very quick look at the Atmegatron 2 prototype, which I'm using to test a brand new expander module for the 8X range. It's based around the YMZ284 chip, which is very similar to the one used in the Atari ST, MSX and numerous other 80s home computers. It's 3 square waves, a buzz wave, and then it's about tricks to get other features like sampling. You can hear the detune on the 3 squares there. There's white noise as well. But it's all very much in development at the moment, and that will be the first of the expander modules to go with the Atmegatron 2, which will be available later in the year. Hope you enjoyed that little preview. The Atmegatron 2 is the first to be launched, and I hope that will be in the summer. The Atmultitron will come later in the year, and they'll be closely followed by the Eurorack modules. Follow my YouTube channel and other social media accounts to stay up to date with the latest info. Thanks very much, and I hope to see you in Berlin in 2021. Bye!
Huh? Hello and welcome to Sündwerk's video for Superbooth 2020 Home Edition. Today it's a big day for us because we are launching our newest creation, the SW3P 2020. And you can easily recognize that this is something which has to do with the Moog 3P synthesizer. We are very proud to launch it today with some improvements compared to the original. And we thought it might be a very good idea to launch this new system with an old track from Klaus Schulze called Discover Truckle. Enjoy!
Das waren die von den Herstellern selbst gedrehten Videos. Es gibt noch mehr Produktpräsentationen, also im Grunde das, was man sich sonst von den Herstellertischen direkt anschauen kann. Und dazu findet ihr in Kürze mehr auf dem Kanal von Sonic State.
Welcome from home! This is the Superbooth Home Edition. Home! This is home!
Superbooth is the best show of the year. It's easy to say that. Superbooth 20 Home Edition is on, and that's a kind of virtual version. We will be posting product demos, virtual booth tours, interviews, and some Sonic talks, plus maybe a few other surprises around the date.
And we'll be doing a special reserved stream during the time that Superbooth would have been. It will be like walking from booth to booth, with manufacturers jumping in and out, and random encounters with some of your favorite people in synthesis.
Hier ist der Peter von Amazona.de und am 23. erfahrt ihr dann, was genau sich hinter dieser kleinen Aktion verbirgt.
Close the cassette and cut it in a horizontal line.
The organized chaos that is Superbooth in the comfort of your pajamas.
And afterwards, we'll have a whiskey with a bunch of friends. And hopefully you.
See you there.
Kostet keinen Eintritt. Ist frei.